Hi, folks. Welcome again to Money and Politics. We'd like to have you with us. Thank you for joining us. And if you like what we're saying here today, please give us a thumbs up and tell us what you think of this video and others. And tell us what you think, if you would, on Humbl, because we're going to be talking about that tonight. Let me add a little note here for those that have just joined us. And by the way, we're only about a week old as far as really putting programming out. We will be covering over the range of this channel in the weeks, months, and years ahead a whole variety of topics. And at times we're going to have some live video programming and maybe take your questions. But I'm making a little bit of an apology because I'm going to do another program right now on Humbl, and I want you to give me your indulgence. We're covering Humbl again tonight because, again, there's some big news coming out of Humbl. And as I've said before, this is one of the most exciting programs, stocks, I should say, one of the most exciting stocks that I've seen in the last 40 years. So here's your Humbl update, and in part, it's Humbl seems to be moving in all things. One of the interesting things that came out today is one of our friends on the Twitter brought up what they found, and I apologize, I don't have the gentleman's name in front of me, but this is Humbl. And it looks as if Humbl is asking for basically a copyright for the Humbl title assurance. And what this goes on to say is that they're going to be having items in the nature of land sales, real estate, titles, business ownership, automated ownership documents. It's a little small type there. So that is going to be coming up ahead. And what I think this means, and you got to read between the lines here, so again, give me your indulgence that I'm peeking between the lines for meaning, that what the big picture is that Humbl is going to be doing is not just the phone app transactions, but they're going to be digitizing assets. And if we look at if what we're seeing in fact is just what we think it is, the Humbl looking ahead and planning at some point into going into the real estate market too. One thing I'm going to say I think this means is if you look at a person buying a house right now, let's say there's a $300,000 house and you bought it with 20% down, that's $60,000 down payment. Let's say you've lived there over 15 years and maybe the equity you have in that home is now at $150,000, maybe $160,000, about a 50% equity. Well, for some reason, let's say you got a need for money. Your kid's going off to college and you need to get your hands on some money. And the money you have is tied up in your house. So what do you do to get money on your to pay the tuition for your kid going off to college? You got to go to a bank and get a home equity loan, which means you're going to be paying interest to a bank to get access to your own money. I mean, after all, the equity you have in your home, whose equity is it? Is it the bank's or is it yours? It's yours. So why are you going to a bank and paying interest? Because you can't get your hands on the equity. So what I think Humbl is going to be working on, and again, this is my interpretation, maybe I'm wrong, okay? Red flag here, I'm somewhat guessing. But Humbl is about digitizing assets, and also they've talked about having fractional shares. So it could mean that we buy real estate and sell real estate kind of the way we buy and sell stocks. If I had $150,000 in stock, I could just sell part of those shares to pay for my kid going off to college. But I can't do that right now at the home. And it's what makes real estate an inefficient market. You got to sell all of it or nothing. But what if we could sell part of our home, the equity in our home, and do it in fractional shares? Think how that would help you as far as your own cash flow to get access to your own money without having to go to a bank and pay interest and have a note just to get access to your own equity. So that's one thing. The other, and again, that's all a little bit speculative here on my part, so bear with me. The other interesting thing that came out today is we have Humbl Financial launches their block ETX products in over 100 countries. And in their press announcement, they had that Humbl announced today the product launch of its block exchange traded index. Those are ETX, X, not F. Lineup in over 100 countries across North America, Latin America, Asia, Middle East, Africa, and the Caribbean. The initial block ETXs, and again, this is where I think what they're doing is they're ganging assets that people can buy, just like an ETF, where you buy stocks, a bunch of stocks in an ETF. And in this case, what they're doing is they're saying you can get blocks and they're grouped. So you got block 3, block 5, block 10, block government, block platform, block global enterprise. And the block ETX lines were created by Humbl Financial to give retail investors, that would be you and me, boys and girls, access to one-click software services on the new digital asset trading markets. So in that case, these Humbl in this case is acting, you might say, like a vanguard that created the ETFs, exchange traded funds. These are ETXs, exchange traded exchanges, I think. I'm not sure what the X is for. Let me tell you, in this whole world we're moving into, and one of the revolutionary waves that is coming at us right at this point in history is the digitization of currency, and that is where Humbl is at the core of that revolution. They are taking the old analog. If I had a dollar right now, let's say here's a dollar bill that we have in our pocket, you know, that's, let me see if I have one just real quick. Okay, so here we go. This is analog, right? And the new way of doing things is digital. And so right now, remember when President Obama sent money to the Iranians a while back, he flew a cargo plane with pallets of cash. That's analog. That's physically moving cash from point A to point B. Humbl is about bringing digitization to the marketplace. So on our phones, we're going to be paying for things. And if you're in Poland, you don't have to be going to an exchange. I used to go when I was going around Europe, you had to go to the bank or to go to the railroad and you'd exchange your American dollars into the local currency. Humbl is going to be doing that. And they're doing it in countries already all over the world, starting right now, this month, as we sit here. And that's the reason why I want to be giving you these updates. I don't want it to be looking like Money and Politics is the Humbl channel. But right now, this is happening. It's one of the big revolutionary movements. And comparing what's happening with Humbl to almost anything else in my mind is missing the big story. We're going to cover other stories, and we have already. And we're going to be walking through that in the weeks, months ahead, as I've already noted. But I'm talking fast because I don't want to go too long here. We did a story last night that I hope you watched. If you haven't, you can check that out. But that's the exciting thing. And if you didn't see what happened today, let's just take a quick look. We had the shares of TSMP go up, which is Humbl, as you hopefully know, went up almost 17% today. That is not a new all-time high, but that's pretty close. If we go just to the year, you can see, whoops, sorry about that. You can see there that just how high we are. So we're almost at a yearly high. And where's it going to be going? Well, of course, nobody can tell you that for sure, but I'm going to be saying it's a pretty safe bet that Humbl is going to be going up over the course of this year. Still hard to believe for all of us who have been following it, but there's still millions of people who have never heard this story and are going to be getting into it. And when you can get into it, even today, up 6-7 cents, where it was just a couple of days ago down at 30, you're still getting into it, in my estimation, at a real discount. I think history will show as we look back at the end of this year, when we look from the perspective of 2022, 2023, and we look back to February of 2021, we're going to be going, my goodness, could you imagine if you were able to buy this stock back when it was below $1. I think that's what's coming at us, folks. This is one of the great investments of my lifetime. So I don't say that I own the stock. I should have mentioned that up front. But this is one of the great investments of my lifetime. And I would encourage you, if you have some money to invest, don't use the rent money, don't use grocery money, because there could be times where it goes down for whatever reasons. And there's always risk involved in any investment, no matter how good. Nothing is a guarantee. If it was a guarantee, I'd put all my money into this, and I'm not doing that. All right. But this, I think, represents a real good risk-reward ratio. You know, think of it as a teeter-totter. I think the where it's leaning right now is heavily in favor of a reward, and that I think right now we're going to have still a long road up from here. But we wanted to give you that information. Again, let me just show you that graphic. Here, let me do that again. Humbl Financial launching block products in over 100 countries. This is a real thing. This is not your typical penny stock. And that's what I would encourage all of you to of course, realize and go ahead and act accordingly. For the money in politics right now, February 2, we'll let you go. Thanks for joining us. And as a reminder, thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate it. Good investing.